For 8 glittering seasons, Dynasty told America what wealth was supposed to look like. Shoulder pads sharp enough to cut glass, catfights in fountains, and a Denver oil family that never met a scandal it couldn't survive. It made Joan Collins a global icon, turned Who's Wearing It Better into a national pastime, and gave network television one of its first openly gay leading characters. More than 4 decades later, the Carringtons are gone from prime time, but the actors who played them lived lives every bit as dramatic as anything the writers dreamed up. Here's what really happened to the cast of the original Dynasty and where they stand in 2026. John Forsythe wasn't supposed to be Blake Carrington at all. The role was originally handed to George Peppard, but Peppard clashed with producers over the character's direction and walked away after only a week of filming. Forsythe, already 63 and a veteran of decades in film and television, stepped in as a replacement and turned the domineering oil tycoon into the emotional anchor of the entire series. He remained the one actor to appear across all 9 seasons, plus the 1991 reunion miniseries. His contract reportedly locked in something almost unheard of for the era, a guarantee that he would always be paid more per episode than any other cast member and would receive top billing in every promotional campaign. When Joan Collins joined the show, that pay gap was stark, and it became a sore point she referenced for years afterward, at one point describing Forsythe publicly as old-fashioned in his attitudes toward his female co-stars. Forsythe's career stretched well beyond Denver. He'd already lent his voice to an entire generation as the unseen boss on Charlie's Angels, a role he reprised decades later in the 2000 and 2003 feature films, and he picked up 2 Golden Globes and 3 Emmy nominations for playing Blake. He died on April 1, 2010, at his home in Santa Ynez, California, at 92, following a battle with cancer. In a moment that surprised longtime fans given their on-screen and off-screen friction, Collins publicly praised him afterward as one of the last true gentlemen of the business. Michael Nader was 38 when he joined Dynasty as Farnsworth Dex Dexter, the rugged love interest who eventually became Alexis's 3rd husband. Producers considered several actors for the role before choosing Nader, largely because of the chemistry he showed opposite Joan Collins in his audition. That chemistry carried the show for years. Nader stayed with the series until it ended in 1989. What most viewers didn't know was that Nader had entered treatment for drug and alcohol addiction at Minnesota's Hazelden Clinic before he ever set foot on the Carrington estate, getting sober in 1980 after a co-star noticed how much weight he'd lost and urged him to get help. The sobriety didn't hold forever. While starring as Dimitri Marek on All My Children, he was arrested for drunk driving in 1997 with his 13-year-old daughter in the car, and in 2001 he was arrested in New York for attempting to sell cocaine to an undercover officer. ABC fired him, though the network said publicly it would consider bringing him back if he got treatment. He later sued the network, arguing it never intended to follow through, and lost. He did eventually return to All My Children for a short-lived 2013 online revival. Nader died on August 23, 2021, at his home in Northern California, just 10 days after being diagnosed with an untreatable cancer. He was 76. His wife of 18 years, Jodie Lister, said in a statement that he had recently reconnected with several of his Dynasty castmates over a video call organized to raise money for long COVID research, and that he'd been working on a memoir about his life and his struggles with addiction when he passed. If Dynasty had a saving grace, it was Joan Collins. The show was struggling in the ratings when she arrived at 48 years old as Blake's glamorous, vengeful ex-wife, Alexis. Within a season, Alexis had become the character everyone was talking about, and Dynasty leapfrogged its biggest rival, Dallas, to become the most-watched show in America. Off-camera, Collins spent years fighting for pay equal to what her male co-star was guaranteed by contract, a battle she later said gave her plenty to relate to when the #MeToo movement brought workplace inequality into the mainstream conversation decades later. She was made a dame by Queen Elizabeth II in 2015 for her charitable work, and after 5 marriages, found lasting stability with her 5th husband, theater producer Percy Gibson, whom she married in 2002. In 2026, at 93, Collins shows no sign of slowing down. She's appeared at red carpet events throughout the year, including the Variety Power of Women event in London and the Cannes Film Festival premiere of her new film, working titled My Duchess, in which she plays Wallis Simpson opposite Isabella Rossellini. She's also continued promoting A Murder Between Friends, in which she plays an amateur sleuth, and has publicly floated the idea of a sequel. Collins remains refreshingly blunt in interviews, recently dismissing weight loss drugs like Ozempic and insisting she refuses to be defined by a number. William Beckley was 52 and already a working character actor when he took on Gerard, the impeccably composed majordomo of the Carrington mansion. Playing opposite Forsythe, Evans, and Collins across 81 episodes, Beckley turned a small supporting role into one of the show's most reliably dignified presences, and he returned to reprise Gerard for the 1991 reunion miniseries. After Dynasty wound down, Beckley made an unexpected pivot. Rather than chase more Hollywood roles, he moved to Idaho and later settled near Richmond, Virginia, largely stepping away from the industry. Across his broader career, he'd also turned up in shows like Hogan's Heroes, Star Trek, Charlie's Angels, Hawaii Five-0, and General Hospital. Beckley died on March 11, 2015, at 85. Linda Evans had already had one major run of stardom on the Big Valley by the time Dynasty came calling, and at 38, she found her second act as Crystal Carrington, the kind-hearted former secretary who married into more money and more misery than she bargained for. Crystal spent much of the series locked in an escalating rivalry with Alexis, and the role brought Evans 5 Golden Globe nominations and 1 win, cementing Dynasty as the defining success of her career. Despite playing television's most famous feuding pair, Evans and Collins never became close off-screen. Collins later said there wasn't much warmth between them during filming, and while the two stayed professional on set, their relationship off-camera was often described as distant. Evans continued working steadily after the show ended and surprised fans by reuniting with Collins on stage in the 2006 production Legends. She later took a hard left turn into reality television, competing on Britain's celebrity edition of Hell's Kitchen and winning. By 2026, at 83, Evans lives a quiet life away from the spotlight in Washington state and has spoken candidly in recent interviews about the realities of aging and the pressure of trying to live up to a glamorous image built decades ago. Diane Carroll joined Dynasty in 1984 at 48, playing Dominique Devereaux, Blake Carrington's elegant and formidable half-sister, and in doing so became the first prominent black female character in an American primetime soap opera. She appeared in more than 70 episodes of Dynasty and reprised the role on its spin-off, The Colbys. Carroll didn't wait to be discovered for the part. According to an interview she gave People magazine in 1984, she and her manager pitched the idea directly to producer Aaron Spelling after running into him at a Los Angeles nightclub, telling him the show had already tackled incest, homosexuality, and murder, and that she wanted to be the first rich, ruthless black woman on television. By her own account, Spelling was sold the moment she walked in the room. It wasn't Carroll's first taste of breaking barriers. She'd already become the first black actress to win a Tony Award for No Strings and had earned an Academy Award nomination for Claudine, yet had struggled to find leading roles that matched her talent. Dynasty gave her a massive new platform. She died on October 4, 2019, at her Los Angeles home at 84 after a long fight with breast cancer. Director Ava DuVernay paid tribute to her at the time, calling her a legend who left a mark on the industry with every step she took. Gordon Thompson was 37 when he joined Dynasty in 1982 to play Adam Carrington, the long-lost eldest son who, on the page, was supposed to be in his 20s. Thompson made it work, turning Adam into one of the show's most memorable and manipulative villains across more than 180 episodes. The irony of the role wasn't lost on Thompson himself. Adam frequently showed hostility toward his openly gay brother, Stephen, but Thompson was privately gay in an era when coming out could end an actor's career. He later reflected that the way he'd been raised had made him, in his words, one of the most homophobic gay people he knew, and that coming out at the time would have been career suicide. He didn't publicly come out until a 2017 interview with the Daily Beast at 72, closing the book on decades of silence about his personal life. After Dynasty, Thompson kept steady work in daytime television, including a long run as Mason Capwell on Santa Barbara, along with appearances on Beverly Hills, 90,210, and other soaps, including stints on Days of Our Lives and The Young and the Restless. By 2026, at 81, he's largely retired from the public eye. Aaron Spelling saw leading man potential in John James almost immediately, casting him as Jeff Colby when James was just 24. As the loyal, decent husband perpetually caught in the middle of the Carringtons' power struggles, Jeff became one of the show's most dependable characters, and the role earned James a Golden Globe nomination in 1986. Escaping the shadow of Jeff Colby took time. James stepped back from acting for several years to focus on his family before returning to television in the early 2000s, playing Rick Decker on As the World Turns and later Dr. Jeff Martin on All My Children. By 2026, at 70, James enjoys a notably stable personal life. He's been married since 1989 to Denise Coward, and the two live on a large farm in upstate New York. Their daughter competed on and won a season of America's Next Top Model, and their son has served in the U.S. Air Force, a domestic, low-drama life that stands in sharp contrast to the Colby family chaos James spent nearly a decade playing on screen. Jack Coleman inherited one of the trickiest assignments in television history when he took over the role of Stephen Carrington at just 25, replacing original actor Al Corley, who'd left the series over creative disagreements. Stephen was one of the first openly gay leading characters on American primetime television, though the show's writers, wary of how audiences would react, repeatedly paired him romantically with women,